in the Chinese autonomous region of Xizang, previously known as Tibet. Amid U.S. accusations, the population positively evaluates the government policies aimed at bettering their access to basic infrastructure and services and preserving the region's cultural and religious values. From Xizang, teleSUR collaborator Mauro Ramos offers more details on the matter.
The Democratic Party has chosen Kamala Harris as running mate, Minnesota government Tim Walz. The Democrat was a congressman for 6 terms since 2006 and is also known for his interest in China. Walz was a member of the Congressional-Executive Commission on China, a body that claims to monitor human rights in the Asian country. The Chinese government has repeatedly expressed strong dissatisfaction and opposition to the reports released by the Commission. China also has just taken countermeasures on Congressman Jim McGovern, a member of the Commission and a very close ally of Tim Walz. Because of his actions meddling in China's internal affairs, McGovern will be banned from doing business or traveling to China. In recent years, Walz and McGovern have focused on reporting alleged human rights abuses in Xizang, known as Tibet in the West. We were invited to be part of a delegation to visit Xizang firsthand. We spoke with peasants, teachers, and monks from different cities in the autonomous region.
As a Tibetan, I can mention 2 significant actions that the Communist Party of China took in Xizang. Politically, the party freed millions of serfs, granting them freedom. Economically, by 2019, all 74 impoverished counties in Tibet had been lifted out of poverty. Now, we are entering a phase of rural revitalization.
May marked 73 years since the peaceful liberation of Xizang. At that time, aristocrats, local officials, and high-ranking lamas in monasteries who represented only about 5% of the Tibetan population owned almost all of the region's wealth. The other 95% were feudal serfs and enslaved people. By 2019, 628,000 people had been lifted out of absolute poverty in the 74 counties mentioned by Xizang. Part of the policies focused on relocating families from places that are difficult to access and without basic infrastructure or services. Tsiwang Pintuo, a resident of Siga village, was one of the relocated Tibetans.
We come from a small village in Medich County, Nyingki. It used to take 5 or 6 days to walk from our village to the county town. Sometimes when we went to Bohm County to buy things, we had to carry everything, whether big or small, on our backs. In our hometown, the most common means of transportation to cross the Yarlung Zangbo River was the iron rope. So, it was obviously difficult to send children to school and for the elderly to see the doctor. It is fair to say that our quality of life was low. With the help of the country and the government, we moved to our current home in 2003.
In addition to the different commissions in the U.S. Congress, Human Rights Watch is another U.S. entity that negatively evaluates these policies in Xizang. In different reports, the organization claims that the relocations were forced and that the Tibetan language and culture have been repressed, although the Xizang Autonomous Region has a bilingual education system in Mandarin and Tibetan. Wang Dui is a primary school teacher. He talks about the education offered in schools in the region.
We are committed to preserving and transmitting our culture. In our classes, each teacher incorporates this tradition into their classes, sharing knowledge with everyone. Whether it is about passing on tradition or learning about it, our goal is to pass this content on to our students so they can better preserve it in the future.
Longduo has been teaching Tibetan for 24 years. He states that in addition to the language, the teaching of Tibetan calligraphy in schools is being increasingly prioritized.
In the past, we did not have convenient transportation like today. The road we used to use to go to school was difficult to walk on. In the past, we needed ink and paper to practice Tibetan calligraphy, but we didn't have it, so we had to follow tradition and write on wooden tablets. But now students have good quality paper and ink. They are very lucky.
Human Rights Watch also accuses China of restricting religious freedom in Xizang. Buddhism is one of the main religions practiced in China, along with Taoism, Islam, Catholicism, and Protestantism. Although the state is secular, there are policies to support monasteries and monks due to the cultural and historical value of Tibetan Buddhism, which is the second largest branch of this religion in the country. Dongzhu, guide at the Changzhou Temple, explains this policy.
The government takes care of our monks in various aspects, such as medical care and social security. For example, all temples in Xiyang, including Changyu Temple, offer a free annual medical checkup for monks. The checkup results are kept in the monks' personal records. Our temple's main source of income comes from our small tea shop and the sale of items such as butter lamps, barley lamps, and katas, all made by the temple itself. These sources of income are usually enough to support each monk.
Barker Street and Jokhang Temple are in the center of the old city of Lhasa, the capital of Xizang. The temple is under state protection and became a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site in 2000. More than 90% of the population of Xizang is Tibetan Buddhist. The Jokhang Temple was built over 1,300 years ago, and the temple receives up to 80,000 people a day on special dates for Tibetan Buddhism.
With the country's strong support, transportation and economy here are relatively developed compared to before, and there are many more tourists and worshippers than before. As the internal staff of Jokhang Temple, we monks must maintain and protect this world cultural heritage, make our own efforts to pass it on to the next generation, and strengthen our research on religious knowledge.